Hi, welcome back to Neely's Bonsai. Hope you're well. Today I've got my Old Sycamore bonsai. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a repot. I feel that last year with the summer heat we had, we kind of suffered in this really shallow pot, and the soil was maybe a little bit heavy as well, maybe a bit too much grit in there. So really today I just want to repot it, talk you over a few things I've noticed with it. Just as I kind of thought I was getting somewhere with this tree, I've noticed a few little problems, and generally the height I'm not happy with. It's just where I had good signs of life after I initially chopped one thing, so a little bit of a schoolboy error there, as it were. Really it probably wants to be down here somewhere and start again. But a few other problems with it. There's some wire marks here, nothing to do with me as far as I'm aware. This tree had a bit of an accident when me and my little brother were younger. We were building a quail house and a piece of timber fell on it during a storm and it kind of snapped the original tree. So then I think maybe Dad tried to wire it back together maybe for a while, or something's caused this anyway here. It's not something I tend to do with that kind of, the way that wire's been wrapped there as well is a bit odd. So there's that to contend with. And then where the initial break was on the tree, it looks actually okay from this side, although it's a big wound. But the side of the tree I wanted to use, it's actually a slight little inverse taper there now, you know, on the back of that cut site. So that's a bit of a shame there, because that's a nice piece of trunk. Obviously it's got nice flare at the bottom, a bit of a ugly large root there. But yeah, they're the main two problems at the moment, being the wire marks there and the inverse taper. I'd be a bit hesitant in cutting it down further, you know, even to where that other wire mark is there, because then you kind of lose that nice shape it had. So the wire marks I think I can deal with. The inverse taper, the tree will have to deal with over the next couple of years, and if it doesn't show signs of kind of improvement, then we'll maybe chop it back. But that's really the real exercise today, is to, although this is in a fairly large pot, is just to repot it, improve the soil it's in, check the roots a little bit, because it's quite a vigorous growing thing, and then put it into this terracotta pot hiding underneath. This is a bit of a training pot, and I think if I can get strength back into the main trunk, as it were, and the root system, and leave it unchecked for a couple of years, or maybe next year at least, then I could maybe proceed with a chunk chop, or by that time we might have actually left this to grow. It may have swelled up a bit more and kind of balanced back out, because it's not extreme, it's just I'm kind of nitpicking it, and I can see a future problem there. So I don't really want to carry on with something if it's just going to be a problem in another 5 years, because I've already lost a lot of time on this tree. I quite often collect trees and dig things up and never have a problem, but you can bet your money on it. If I did both things today to this, it would probably die, and I'd lose the oldest, you know, kind of piece of material that I've got start to finish. Although it should be way more advanced than this, seeing how vigorous these things grow as well. Right, so I think we'll get it out of the pot and see what we've got hiding in there. I'm going to pretty carefully lift this out. I don't think it's wired in there. Let's see what we've got hiding in there. We've had an awful lot of wet weather recently as well, and like I say, I think the soil was a little bit heavy on the grit. So it has made it quite weighty. There's some lovely moss there as well. So I think we could do this definitely some justice. With some better soil now. Got a lot of fine roots though, so we've had a really hard winter. Bring some of this away from here. Yeah, so you can see there, I've made a cut on one of these chunkier roots. This used to be a root over a kind of rock bonsai as well, but a lot of the roots had died back. And you see there on that cut, quite a chunky root. We've got two nice new roots coming off of there, so that's quite encouraging. But there's not too much wrong with the soil mix. Like I say, it's just felt a little bit heavy in the pot really. This part here is quite ugly. Luckily towards what would be kind of the back of the tree, all going well. Although finally we have got some new roots pushing out of there. So I was wondering on this site whether we'd have to try and do some kind of clever root graft using some little sycamore saplings. There's another big root there you see coming through. You can see how it used to go over a rock. We've also got there a baby heuchera. So you can see there's quite an interesting nabari here, although not, you know, very ordered as such. I think I'd be tempted to maybe keep some of those and break up that swirly root. But there'd be no problem in getting this into a smaller pot, as you can see. And again on this root here, yeah, it's not the same one I showed you, is it? Yeah. So another large root cut. Those are new roots come out the end of it. I have mentioned this tree in previous videos, and I had grown it up to probably I don't know, 8 foot tall kind of thing, to really try and heal this cut and get it moving, which it did do. And it's also broken the bark all down the bottom here, so you can see where the tree was growing slowly and then suddenly put some growth on. It has gave it that really aged looking bark, and in a really nice scale as well. It looks quite genuine, so it doesn't look like the trunk was rush grown. And we can see here as well, which is again really encouraging, new white roots forming on even some of these smaller roots where we want them. So I think even with how wet that soil kind of looks there and how heavy it was, it's performed fine over winter. So what we're going to put it in today will definitely be sufficient. Have an upgrade for it if you like. So I'm really just getting out all this muck. There we go. So from the side that we'd want to use, which I'd want that to be the front, it's really quite an interesting root there. This big one's a bit of a pain. I don't know where it finishes up. Maybe we could cut that at a later date, but with some of these growing over it, it might look kind of cool. I know it's kind of wrong, but some things are set in stone there, and that's a bit annoying, that root. But again, it is an interesting front. So, and you know, I'm not going to be able to change that dramatically. But really encouraging to see all this new root growth from where I have been quite heavy on the roots. So yeah, that's a pass anyway, even with that bad soil. I'm just going to pick some of this moss out of these little nooks and crannies. Moss. And in here as well, you see. Just going to clean it out. As nice as it looked. Like I say, these roots aren't ideal, but they are. It does work quite nicely, really, that chaos. So there's enough reasons to persevere with this, not just how sentimental the tree is to me. I feel like if I just found it, I'd be quite happy to try and do something with it. This here as well, this little mark on the, or this cut, I don't know what quite had happened there. Maybe it was another root that was a bit ugly. I don't think we ever had a branch there. I did bring my Dremel with me as well, because I don't think we'll get a good cut on that now. It'll end up twice the size. But we'll just try the Dremel on there. I haven't got many attachments for it, but I've got some in the post actually coming that haven't arrived yet. But let's try with what we've got and see if we can just improve that a little bit, that one. Right, so like I say, I haven't got the best attachments for this, but I've noticed this little sanding thing. If you get the right angle on it, you can kind of concave these. So we'll have a little practice on this top cut. Look, it's going to mean nothing to us if we change the whole design of this tree. Let's just see how it performs on there. I'm going to start in the middle and work back out. Yeah, looking really nice, that. So I've only mucked around with that there. It is a bit more out the middle, but you can see how nice and concave that is. Just with that little sanding piece on there. So I think because we're happy with that, I'm not going to do too much more on there and lengthen out the video doing that. We'll just clean up that little root part and then we'll get this potted up. Right, so I think I've done quite an efficient job at cleaning that up. I just took it back to where you can kind of see live flesh around the edge and it's nice and concave. So we'll have a little kind of experiment there and see how that heals over. So there's other things here that have healed over fine, I think because they were kind of recessed a bit further. They've pulled in, they're kind of unnotable, but we'll see how that goes. Right, so we'll just offer the tree up. So like I say, what I've got here is a terracotta pot. Not really even a training pot because we could do with some nice holes in there. I just couldn't find a convenient drill bit this morning. I didn't want to break the pot in half. But we'll make do with what we've got. I've got some mesh there as well, just to go over there that we've recycled from the previous repot. We'll just offer it up and see how it looks in there. Well, you can see that's not a bad pot for it to go in, and it's got a little bit more depth. So with our hot summers at the moment, and this being quite a large leaf tree, it does drink a considerable amount of water. Right, so for what I'm going to pot this up in, like I say, I'm kind of changing things about a bit this year. I'd normally be putting them in compost with some sand and some grit and bits like that, but like I said, it seems a little bit heavy and a bit cold over winter, although that root tells you differently there. But you know, it's always good to try, you know, experiment with things, kind of see what works. And when I've grown field maples in a kind of mulchy, lighter mix, they really do put out a lot more root as well. So I think we've got a few bits here. I'll just show you here. We've got some kind of mulchy compost there. So I'm still going to have some of that as the base because this tree loves it. Bit of muck there, but this does have quite a fibrous makeup already. There's some of that there in the bottom. I'm just going to put a handful of this pine bark in there as well. So a really nice fine grade there. Then I've got perlite, which I'm going to put around the same amount as the compost in as well, just to hold some moisture and lighten the whole mix up. And then for no other reason other than there was a issue with the delivery of the perlite. They sent me out a whole bag of this vermiculite. Now it's not really that great for bonsai, I don't think. A lot of people say it breaks down, it holds too much water, but I've got a whole 100-litre sack of it there, so I'm just going to put a handful in, you know, just again as another kind of ingredient if you like. I don't think that will hurt or change too much, but it does hold a little bit more moisture, so that'll be good for this sycamore during the summer period. And just because I can't break bad habits or old habits that easily, I got this really large grain sand as well, which I'm quite fond of because it does, again, it breaks up the compost with another kind of thing. So, and they are really large grains. I found a pile of this just kind of dumped on one of my gardening jobs. No one wanted it, so I bagged up what I could that was good. And again, probably, you know, if you're going to try and work out a percentage, it's probably 10% of the mix or something there. And then there's one other thing that I'm going to put in here, which is completely experimental at this stage. I was kind of laid up a bit ill a few weeks back and had a bit more time on my hands. And something I've been thinking about for a little while was making my own kind of clay, not akadama because it won't be volcanic clay compressed, but it's our local clay, fired, you know, ripped apart. Luckily this one was. I've made some balls as well. This one was just a nice layer I found in the ground that kind of broke up. So I teared it up, you know, dried it out, and then just fired it in a bean can in an open fire. I've done a few tests on it. I've put some in the freezer on and off, so it's had like 5 trips in and out of the freezer, defrosted, frozen, defrosted, frozen. Didn't really break up, and what did break up when I really kind of ground it, it went into little shards of kind of already fired earth. So it's not going to go to mush like cat litter. It holds 20% of its own weight and moisture. So I didn't do a test in a way that I you know, measured out the liquids and see what it held in, but I weighed it before and after, and about 20% it holds as well. It should be fairly inert because it's just fire clay. And I've actually grown 5 or 6, I think it's 6 actually, little seedlings, juniper, a hawthorn, an acer, a Japanese maple, and maybe a Norway maple, and I think there's something else as well I'm missing there, but just in that alone as well, and they're all still alive, so we're just seeing as another little experiment. I've done a little cupful in each one. So yeah, it wouldn't be really cost effective to produce. Like I say, I was having a fire at home at the time as well, so there's no real like, you know, I've not gone out and had a fire to make it kind of thing. The fire was on as it were, and I've just chucked these in the can in the middle, and this is what we've got. But that's enough about those anyway for now. These are kind of like an experiment, like I say, but look at the colours. Colours are really nice. Terracotta, purpley, kind of whatever you want to call that colour there. But yeah, I thought they were actually really quite happy with how they come out. So they're going to go in as well, just to try it out. So that's the replacement for the gravel there. But that will actually hold, I would have thought, hold some nutrient and hold some moisture as well. It's a nice, really light knit. You couldn't crush it together if you wanted to, so I think that sycamore is absolutely going to love that. And really the perlite would be just a substitute for using something expensive like pumice, I guess, or, you know, lava rock as well. But that's a pretty, you know, cheap mix there, and I think before this thing does go into a proper bonsai pot, it'd be good experiment there to see what results we get out of it. You've seen what it does there with just sand and compost and gravel. Let's give this a whirl. I recently inherited a few bags of this gravel. I've probably got 6 to 8 of them, so I'm not going to top dress that many pots, so I think there's a good measure again. We'll put a little layer of that in there. It's got like a little kind of land drain in there if you like. So I'm just going to mound up some of this mix we've just made. Get a little dressing down the side as well, just to kind of get this thing seated. Like I explained earlier, that would be the front of the tree there. I think, you know, realistically we will make another chop here at some point, but we'll persevere for this 1 year. I'm going to put one more handful spread under there, just to elevate it a little bit. And it's quite an area under there that needs to make contact with the soil, so there's no good just putting one little mound in the middle. I wasn't going to cut roots off it, but when they start folding up like that, there's a couple of little roots off there. I'd rather not see them just overlapping each other. There we go, so that's quite a nice angle that, and it gives us a chance to come back towards you a little bit, but really this would have been a nice shape, I kind of think, if that was turned round and down here. I think really that would have been nice with a few more branches and had this kind of, you know, looking quite traditional really, kind of aiming for a traditional sycamore, because they would normally come up with one trunk, then break out with a few, and then that would make up the overall structure. So it wouldn't just be like a Japanese style kind of bonsai shape, but that I'm happy with. I think just where I'm seeing that little rock there, I'll put another little handful there. whole tree is supported. We're bang in the middle. I can tell though it's going to really like this mix versus what it was in, so we'll see how the summer grows. It does look like we've made exactly enough to do the job, which is nice because them little clay balls are in here and they're an experiment. Unique to this tree now. I'm not particularly worried about covering up some of that nice roots there, because if we can encourage a few more roots while we're still mucking around with this training stage of this tree, that'd be great. Second to that, I think I'm going to prepare some young sycamore saplings this year, grow them at a funny angle, just in case that we do want to use a few for little root grafts, because there's plenty of room in this pot to actually do that next year. It tends to be a tree that you end up looking in the pot most years, because if you don't, you end up with quite big roots. There we go. So like I say, I think we'll about call that done. I'm going to give it a little water and just top dress this here with a bit of gravel just to hold the perlite in. Has a tendency to float off. And we've got a whole season of heavy watering on this tree yet, so we'll just dress that up with that. You can take that off and sieve that through at a later date if we want to reuse it, or it can just be incorporated into a collected tree mix, I think. So that's that, nice and stable, like I say. And yeah, just to kind of recap on the tree, that would be the chosen front, I think, for this tree. It does have a little bit of a lean towards the viewer there as well. There is a dormant bud hiding in here somewhere, but it's still not quite low enough. I think it's around there on the other side. But I'd like to avoid this part here. If in fact we can fix this, like I say, that inverse taper and that wiring mark. The wiring, I'm just gonna, throughout the season, go along with a knife and just target different areas randomly, kind of thing, and kind of break it back below that area, you see. And I'll kind of do that randomly, I think, and monitor how it heals. You know, better than scraping the whole area and creating a new, you know, symmetrical scar. I think we'll just nibble away slightly at different parts and try and make that look kind of unique. I don't want to cut in too deep and make the problem worse, so very little and small, little areas, you know, often, I think. But really it'll be one to monitor and kind of see how it goes. We'll just give it a little drink now as well. You see there, that water's just falling straight through there. That's what we want. So we've got that spring sunshine today, so. And I'll probably leave this in the greenhouse here, just until it breaks bud. Because I see we've got some rain and some bad weather coming in Monday, start of the week. So I just want to give it the best start, kind of get it to wake up and get these buds moving. We won't cut anything off of there. I want this kind of, when these little solar panels come out, I want them to pull as much as possible, try and fix that wound any further we can, pull some new roots, and then we'll make another decision in spring. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. An unusual subject, you know, the sycamore, because not many people bother with them. I think there's potential in it. I'm kind of stuck with it because it's something I dug up at probably 5 years old and took to my dad on a gardening job, and this is one out of probably hundreds on the patio that he decided to do something with. So a few bad decisions along the way, a few hard times for this tree, but I still believe that we can make something of it. Alright, so there we are. Acer pseudo plantainus, I think is the proper name for this. or like I say, the sycamore tree. Those in America who are watching, you might call a sycamore slightly, well, a different tree a sycamore. I think you guys have a plane tree that you call a sycamore. Over here, this isn't a native tree. It's been here for probably about 500 years. I think they think the Romans brought it over. We're not too sure on that. But yeah, there we go. So sycamore bonsai. Well, thanks for watching. And like I say, I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you can learn something from it or take something from it. And be sure to come back and join us when we go over this tree again next. Probably feature it at summer at some point, just to show you the kind of vigour and the health of it, hopefully. But yeah, if you have enjoyed it, if you give it a thumbs up, that'd be really handy to help other people find the videos. And if you're not a subscriber, if you could maybe consider subscribing to the channel, that would help us out a lot as well. And we'll see you in the next one.